You ain't tryna grow, then it's done for you. For the record, lab on me going all the way. For the record, ain't tryna link, no time to waste. For the record, for the record, yeah. For the record, for the record, for the record, for the record.
So guys, right now, behind me we have a GT2 RS and we have a GT3 RS. We're gonna find out right now what's the difference between these two powerhouse Porsche. Here's a man with the knowledge.
Okay, so basically we're looking at two different variants of Porsche's 911. We're looking at a GT3 on the right and we're looking at a GT2 on the left. These two cars are very similar yet different, and they are generationally different as well. You're talking about a car that is a naturally aspirated 3.8 liter dual clutch transmission, and then you're going to what in stock form would have been a 3.8, 2 turbos, and a 6-speed. These cars are very different but very similar. This car could run in a GT3 class while this car could run in a GT2 class. The difference is the power between the two. More or less you're talking about slight differences, and in between the generations, this is a 997 on the left, the GT2, and on the right the GT3 is a 991. You're talking about a slightly longer and a slightly wider wheelbase on the 991 than the 997, which does help the car plant a lot better. It gives it much more responsiveness due to the car being a rear engine. There's a very heavy pendulum effect when you try to corner these cars. The wider and longer the car is, the easier it is to handle. The shorter and more narrow it is, the more quick and sharp the car is. So Porsche really did leaps and bounds when they widened and lengthened the 991. The GT3 is a very impressive car. The PDK in this car is probably one of the most responsive, if not the most responsive, dual clutch transmission on the market today. Porsche's bar none when it comes to performance. They really do take an effort in representing their race heritage in their street cars, and the GT3 is a perfect example of that. The GT2, however, this is its completely unleashed stepchild. I mean, this car is absolutely insane. You're talking, in this particular car, in stock form, had probably somewhere around maybe 600 horsepower. This car currently...
and what's the curb weight on this car?
Oh,
estimate.
From the factory.
From the factory, it was 3,400 pounds. Now you're talking about a 3,400 pound car with 600 horsepower. Now you're talking about a car that has most of that weight stripped away. So the front fenders, the hood, the roof, the rear bumper, the front bumper, the deck lid, everything is carbon fiber. You can't see it because it's painted over, but some of it you can still see is all carbon. So this car has lost a ton of weight from its original curb weight. When it came to us, it originally had over 1,000 horsepower to the wheels.
And you guys did all the work to this, right? Majority of it?
No, we're working on converting it to being a more tameable street or track car.
Okay.
So now we're taking its absolute ridiculousness and bringing that down and really fine-tuning that so the customer can actually enjoy the experience of the car on track.
That's what makes it important.
Absolutely, because you can have all the power in the world. I mean, realistically, you know, we're really in today, you know, we're really in a big horsepower crunch. Everybody wants more power. Everybody's like 4 digits.
Yeah, especially with companies.
Exactly, and you know, you have cars like, for example, we have a ZL1 1LE. You know, you're talking over 700 horsepower. You know, it's very hard to use that much power on track. You can't. It's almost impossible to be able to utilize that effectively. So to take something that has over 1,000 horsepower, we actually had to detune it, and the lowest that we could safely get it to was about 720 horsepower. So this car currently has about 720 horse. The shifter that you see inside isn't the original H-pattern shifter. What that is it's a sequential shifter, but it still operates off of the H-pattern via a giant mechanism that you bolt to the side of the transmission. So in order for you to shift effectively, not miss any gears, and be able to upshift and downshift rather quickly, that will allow you to do it, but not in the sense that like a normal sequential gearbox will let you do it. These are very, very powerful cars, but these are very effective cars if you can drive them effectively. If you can drive these cars, they are not forgiving though. Their younger sisters, the Caymans. The Caymans are a very well balanced car. That would be the car that's in front of the GT2 here. Very, very easy car to drive. Mid-engine, balanced really well, and it's much, much more forgiving than a rear-engine car. The rear engine all the way hangs over the rear axle, and when you go into a corner, you better have the wheel pointed in the direction you need to go, otherwise it's coming out.
Nice. Yeah. And so this is it this one stock right now,
Yes,
or
this is how this car, minus the roll bar and the seats on the inside, this is how this car comes from the factory.
Okay.
You can go to any Porsche dealer and pick one up the same way.
And I could imagine, are a lot of people really tuning these, or are they just, satisfied with what they're getting out the factory?
You really don't. If you need to put any more power out of this car, you get yourself a cup car.
Okay.
Now the cup car, now this is closer, the GT2 is currently closer to a 911 cup car in its current configuration.
Yeah.
The cup car is a stripped down GT3. So that means that they take everything out of the inside that is not essential. The doors are no longer aluminum, they're carbon fiber.
Carbon fiber.
The trunk, the hood, the roof, the fenders, the bumpers, everything is carbon. The wheels lose about 20 pounds per wheel. The brakes totally change. You get a sequential shifter with a dog box, which allows you to do flat shifting, as would be more understood. So you don't have to lift. You can just pull the stick back and shift all you want. But that is the next step from this car.
That kind of reminds me of the, I recently reviewed a Super Trofeo Huracan. It was a 2017, and it's kind of like the same thing, It's completely stripped down, and it costs a little bit more too.
It costs a little bit more. It's funny.
You get less, less is more.
Less is more. And the same thing. The cup cars, and even in the very beginning, I mean, Porsche does a lot with trying to get consumers into more race-driven cars. So they really do give you the opportunity to drive a cup car and drive cars that are equivalent. However, you are going to pay for them. They do come with a hefty price tag. Things like the GT2, Porsche doesn't do that often. They come out few and far between. They just redid the GT2 this past year. It is an absolute monster.
I heard about it.
Monster of a car, and it is a very impressive car. However, you have a better chance of getting a 991 cup car than you do a GT2.
Right now.
There's no way for a GT2. If you found one,
are they having allocations for them, or is it?
Your allocation car is a 918. Yeah, you had to have bought, if you wanted to get an allocation for a GT2, you had to have had a 918, or you have to know the right people. If you know the right people, you can get anything. But it's all about who and what you've bought through Porsche.
And Porsche wants to make sure that when you buy their car, that it's driven, it's out there for people to see, and that they know what to do. It's not that you can buy a car and put it in the garage and stare at it. They want to see somebody driving it. They want to make sure that people are actually using it, taking it to track, showing it to people. They want it to be visible, and that's what happened is with the older cars, especially, and then Ferrari started to do the same thing. People buy all these special edition cars and then put them away. You pay $300,000-$400,000 for the car, and then a year later you sell it for $1 million because there aren't any because everybody ordered them. You're not allowed to do that. You can't sell it for 2 or 3 years. You have to have the allocation to buy it.
That's the same thing with the Ford GT, right?
Exactly, Ford GT is exactly the same thing.
Came across a Ford GT down here
yet? We've seen one,
You've seen one,
we've seen one of them come around. We have a customer who has a very large collection. He has the Ford GT. He has a new Ford GT. He has just about every one of the special edition Fords that came out.
And is he from South Jersey?
He's relatively local. Yep. But that one too. You have to apply to buy it. When Ford first came out, you had to have so much of a collection. You had to do a certain amount of days. Track days are promised to at least do track days. So it's good to see cars that are built for high performance.
And people are using them and abusing them.
Exactly. And then we get to see it. I don't have to go spend $400,000 on a special edition car.
You can test it and yourself, modding it. Yeah, that's amazing.
And the beautiful thing underneath them, I was never a Porsche fan growing up. Even when I got into racing, I was racing a Mustang, so of course I didn't like Porsches. Once we started working on them, this is a Porsche Boxster behind me. Everything underneath this car, as far as like the suspension, control arms, the steering rack, all that, can all be interchanged with everything else that Porsche makes. So,
oh wow, that's pretty neat, guys.
Yeah, and the easy upgrade. The Boxster is...
And this is a very affordable car.
It is, you can get Boxsters really easily now. If you get a Boxster S, it's essentially the same as a Cayman. So you get the same 3, 4, I think that's in it, the same brakes, same control arms. If you wanted to upgrade your Cayman or Boxster, you can go right to Porsche and buy GT3 control arms. Bolt straight up. They have the GT3 control arms are 2-piece, and they come with shims if you want to put more camber in the car.
Okay.
You loosen it up, you slide a shim in. That's already designated for how much camber it is. Tighten it back up, and you're good to go.
Good,
That's what's amazing about the Porsches and almost all the years, too. You can unbolt control arms from, this one I think is a 2000, and get the 2012 Cayman S control arms and bolt it right to it.
Get out.
Upgrade the suspension, and it's still all Porsche parts. It's
Get
great.
out.
Everything underneath is almost identical. Yeah, and we have... for just about every Porsche in here, other than the new 991s, we have 2 oil filters. It fits every one of the motors that Porsche has. It's great.
Yeah, and like TJ said, his shop is basically what you're seeing on the street, on the racetracks. You're seeing, you're seeing Porsche, you're seeing BMW, you're seeing the GTR. Those are the popular cars. What other popular cars do you see out there?
You nailed it. I mean, Corvette and Mustang.
And the Corvette and Mustang as well. Yeah.
For the same reason. They're cheap to buy parts for. They're cheap to run, cheap to fix. The Caymans, Boxsters, 911s. The 991 GT3, you'll see everywhere because we don't work on them. Yeah. I love them because they take them out, they beat the hell out of them, and they just don't break.
Road and done for you. For the record, lab on me going all the way. For the record, ain't trying to link, no time to waste. For the record, yeah. For the